Hi Life Groups, welcome to our October Life Group update. We're going to start off with some notices, and the first thing is Sunday the 29th, which is today hopefully, if you're at Life Group. We've got our Aroma worship evening from 7 o'clock at the church centre, so please do come along if you'd like to come and join us. It's an evening of worship and interaction with the Holy Spirit, and we just encourage everyone to feel welcome to come along. What's the next thing?
The next thing is on Tuesday, which is Halloween night. We are going to be being light together, basically, outside the church centre. We're going to get lots of lights and make the place look really welcoming, and we're going to have some hot chocolates and things, and it's really an opportunity to interact with any families that are out and about on Halloween night, and to share something of who we are, and also to advertise the next couple of things that are coming up in our church calendar.
And what are those next couple of things? We've got on the 4th of November at 2 p.m. at the church centre, we've got our superhero party for kids and their grown-ups. So if you want,
come dressed up if you want to, but you don't have to.
And then we've also got, thinking about outreach events, we've also got on the 18th of November, we've got our board games night at the church centre from 5 p.m. And please feel free to invite your friends, and maybe in Life Groups is a place to just start to think about who you might be wanting to invite, and encouraging one another. There's one more notice which we'd like to share today, which is the 12th, on the 12th of November, which is a Sunday in the middle of November at 7:30 in the evening. We're going to be having the first of our Going Deeper Bible studies, which is going to be an interactive session of Bible study that's going to be run by Simon. And if you'd like to come along to that, it's open to everyone, and we encourage everyone, if you can, to come along to that. Okay, so after the notices which are looking forward to November, we're just going to spend a couple of moments looking back over the past month, because we don't necessarily have a planned and curated preaching rota, but we do experience God speak to us, to different people, and as they share on a Sunday morning, it's quite interesting to try and weave those threads together and see what the theme is that emerges. So what we're going to do now is we're going to play some clips from the past month's talks, and that might jog your memory, it might remind you of something, or it might make you go, well, I missed that one, and there's an opportunity for you to go and catch up with that over on the podcast if you'd like to. So here we go. Here are some highlights from the past month.
They said, "Can we bring our friend along?" And he was like, "I really want her to hear what you have to say." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I did the same thing. I did the same talk. Then we prayed again, and she got really emotional. And then the next night, she was like, "Can I bring my friend?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So we had another person along. I did the same thing, and it got to the point where when I was saying it, I'd be like, "You're a lying, thieving, blasphemous, adulterous murderer at heart who's self-righteous because you think you're a good person." And they'd go, "Oh, I love this part. This is my favorite bit." And I was like, so they ended up like learning it because I repeated it so many times for different people, but they just loved it every time. And I think at one point we got through about 7 or 8 people in this one hotel room, and we just all prayed together, and we listened to some music, and I was answering questions. And we came back, and the guy in the middle next to me, he went back to church. He went back to West Sussex where they live, and he started going to church with Jack. So one of them's started going to church and is going regularly. He's in the youth group there. So that's really exciting.
So the first tool, and the one that I'm going to focus on this morning, is about the belt of truth. So it says, "Stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist." Now, a belt is a useful thing. It holds your trousers up, it keeps your modesty in place. But actually, in the context in which it was talked about, it's in the idea of a soldier who, like a Roman soldier, would have worn a tunic. So the belt wasn't holding anything up. It was holding things in place, but actually it was primarily a thing of utility. The belt goes round your waist. You can put your sword, you can put your other things that sit in the belt. The point of the belt is that if you have that in place, then actually everything else can hang off it.
And from that, we then get God asking Ezekiel a question. And this question is quite an interesting question that God asked, quite a difficult question and quite a challenging question. And he says to God, he says to Ezekiel, "Son of man, can these bones live? Can these bones live?" And maybe if we looked personally in some of our own personal situations and circumstances, maybe some of the most intractable problems or difficulties that we have, and God said to us, "Do you believe that I can intervene and bring good from this or change this situation?" What would our answer be? And Ezekiel is faced with this question, and he's very wise in his response, because he doesn't say yes and he doesn't say no, but he says, "Sovereign Lord, only you know." And there is a sense, isn't it, that we know God can. He's sovereign. That word appears a number of times in that passage. We know he can, but the question is, will he? And that's sometimes the dilemma we're facing. We want to see people saved. We want to see situations transformed by God's power and grace. We want to see people healed, but it doesn't always happen in the way we'd like it to. And that's a mystery. God is sovereign. He does as he pleases, but it's really important that we have the faith and we are persistent in prayer in these situations. A couple of months ago, we went as a family to Thailand, which was a wonderful holiday, and it was partly work, partly business. But I do remember a couple of weeks beforehand, I was having a lot of, almost a bit of fears about the trip, thinking about worst case situations, what could happen, what about this, what about this? And sometimes we can invent our own worst case scenario that hasn't happened in our own minds before it happens. And it was a real lesson to me. And one of the things that really I felt God saying to me, a bit like going back to the story about George, we can hold very tightly to things in our lives. So tightly, we're afraid to let God have his way in these situations. And I felt for me, God said, let go and let God take over and let him be in control. And as I did that, I felt a real sense of release and a real sense of freedom.
So 4 is bad things. We've done escapism, good things or substitutions, excuses, and now bad things, or what I think of as counterfeit offers. So these are kind of like more obviously going to the dark side, or the kingdom of darkness, if you want to think of it like that. And it's important to remember that the devil isn't a creator. God is a creator, and he's put creativity in us. But the devil can only distort and create, there are counterfeit things that he would try and tempt us with. He can deceive. He's the father of lies. And he can also masquerade as an angel of light, it says in the Bible. So sometimes we might find ourselves looking for safety or comfort. And in trying to manage the uncertainties in our lives, we might actually by mistake end up partnering with something that's darker, that is dark, rather than with God. And I think this is probably one of the hardest things that I've got to share today. Sometimes this can be driven by fear. It can be driven by an avoidance of wanting to avoid risks, or to avoid walking in faith, or to avoid disappointment. And we need God's light in this area to show us if we are doing this at all. How can we tell? In this situation, am I backing away from God in a particular area, or am I leaning into him? It's really easy to do this when we feel let down by God and disappointed. We can have thoughts that lead us to make internal decisions that give the kingdom of darkness power over us. And instead of taking our worries and our disappointments to Jesus, to the stronghold of peace and hope, we can end up making an agreement with ourselves to control uncertainty, to feel safe. That means we don't go there again.
So just a simple example, perhaps I tried to share my faith with somebody and it went wrong, and I go, oh, I'm never doing that again. Who am I partnering with then? Or I step out in faith to pray for someone to be healed, or I do something risky and it goes wrong, or I feel God has let me down. It's really easy to try and shut down that part of our faith, and that's exactly what the devil wants us to do. But what Jesus is inviting us to do is to come to him as the comforter when we're sad and disappointed. He wants to meet us in that place, but it's hard for him to meet us when we're shutting out faith in that area, and we're putting our trust in avoiding the issue or in saying, I'll never take that risk ever again.
You might have heard the audio clips and thought, hey, that's really great. Where did you get those from? Well, we got them from the podcast feed, and you can get them too. So we just want to remind you that if you need to, or if you'd like to get hold of the podcasts, you can email Ellen, and she will give you some information about how to obtain the podcasts. And what we use them for is if we've been away for a week, or if there's a talk that we've been kind of reminded of, we might go back and listen to it when we're out on a walk or going for a run or driving a long way. It's a really good way of just keeping in touch.
So it's good to look back and remember some of the things that God's been talking to us as a church about over the last few weeks. And life groups is one of the places where you can kind of process, digest, apply the stuff that God's been saying. Maybe there was something you didn't really understand what the person was getting at. That's fine. You can ask questions, see what other people understood by it, or it might be something that you thought, actually, I really sensed God speak to me on that. I really felt moved to take action. And that's something to talk to people about and to say, well, how can I do that? How can I put that into practice? And the hope and the dream is that life groups are the place where we can really do that, where the rubber hits the road, where we can actually live out our faith in a very real way. Because living out our faith is not something we do in isolation, and it's not something we do by coming to a service and then going home again. It's actually by living life together and knowing one another, being known, being loved and belonging. So we talked last month, we did a little exercise looking at the Eden Project and the values and the things that are important in our culture, and one of the things that we can do in life groups is create a safe place for us to be able to open up more, to be vulnerable, to be to share the things that we're struggling with, to share our challenges and to share our dreams as well. Yes, hopefully this will be a chance to do that this month, to look back over what God's been saying. The other thing that happened this month is that we had a visit from the incredible Claudeline, lady from the Congo, who came and shared some of what she's been doing. And it was really striking, actually, just listening to her dreams, the way that she'd dreamt years ago, and then she'd put her faith into action and she'd seen God turn up and help her to fulfill those dreams, and now she's dreaming bigger dreams for Hope School in Goma. So this is just a little reminder as well about Claudeline, and that many of us may have felt stirred to give or to sponsor a child or to do something new to help support her dream. And I think she's also an inspiration to us in terms of, we talked about strongholds and how sometimes things can get in the way of us walking in faith, and those things might be excuses or they might be substitutions. And actually Claudeline is a lady who's really an incredible role model to us. She lost her husband during the pandemic. She could have said, well, I'm not going to be able to do much now. Look at me, I'm a widow, I've got 4 kids, I've got all this stuff going on. Don't expect me to do anything much for you anymore, God. But actually that's not what she's doing. She's not allowing those difficulties to become excuses. She's really continuing to step out in faith and to walk in faith. And that's a really inspiring thing to see.
Well, whilst we've been filming this, Malachi has started to do some piano practice inside. So I don't know if you've been able to hear. We've got the Darth Vader theme going on at the moment. But I think life groups is also a good place to do some of our piano practice as well. In a place where Malachi's not worried about us saying, "Oh, that's wrong." He's having a go, and he's developing his skills. and it's in a place where he's quite happy to make mistakes and quite happy to get better and to give things a go. So life groups is a good place to do that. So I just encourage you this morning to carry on doing that. And finally, we meet quite regularly as in various contexts to pray as a church, and just want to encourage you, if you want to get along to some of those, we've got a Monday session, we've got a Tuesday evening session in the church centre. One time when we were praying recently, I felt I had a picture from God that was relevant for us as a church, which was of a gas burner ring that was burning brightly, burning like it was there to heat some pans, but actually parts of the ring were blocked. And my question to God was, God, what are you saying to me about this? And I think one of the things that we can be is we can be burning brightly, and we can be firing on almost all cylinders, and we can be doing really great stuff. But there can also be areas of our lives that are just kind of slightly untouched by God. We've kind of put some barriers up somehow. And as I was thinking about this gas burner, I was thinking about the area of my life which is pride, and I thought, there's something here that I need to do some business with God about my level of pride, my how I think of myself, how I project myself, what I'm prepared to show others in terms of my weakness as well. And I just wanted to submit that to you as a church, that I wonder if there are any areas of our individual lives, of our corporate lives maybe, where there are just nozzles that need to be unblocked. And I don't know if you remember, but Helen spoke to us a couple of months ago about unblocking the wells, about clearing things out, and I think that there's still work for us to do. There's definitely work for me to do on this, and that's not to be heavy, it's just to be real. So I just want to submit that to you and ask you to pray through it for yourselves and say, well, is God speaking to me about this? And to ask him to do some business with us, because I think pride is another area, a bit like excuses, where we give ourselves permission to
be less than we're called to be.
Yeah. So we just want to pray God's blessing over you in your life groups as you meet today. May you have an amazing time of friendship together, of iron sharpening iron, of being surrounded by clouds of witnesses that encourage you on and spur you on to good works and faith. Amen.